Did the lens crack? I know you guys have been missing my bow reviews. Don't worry, I didn't go anywhere. Yep. Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel. MFJJ here with podiumarcher.com with Ben Katormson. He is the sales rep for Xpedition. And little backstory for me, we had Xpedition a really long time ago, and they made a direction of going to what I would call a direct model. They're still selling to dealers, but they're still selling to consumers. And back then that was kind of randomly rare, and a lot of dealers decided that, whoop, we're not going to carry these bows anymore because of that. And I did the same as well. I had reached out to him about 6 months ago before Ben became the sales rep, because I deal with Ben on about 10 other brands, something like that. And sent him an email and saying, hey, if you want me to test the bow, because there was a lot of comments down below on anytime I did a bow review is, hey, are you going to test one of these bows? And they never sent me one, never reached out, sent an email, never heard anything back. And then Ben calls me one day and says, hey, well, I'm your sales rep for him. So we're going to give him a chance and put him through the same rigmarole. But I know nothing about this company for like the last 5 years. So Ben, get me up to date.
All right, so what we have here is we have their 2025 offering. This is the Xlite 32. A little bit of backstory on Xpedition. They've been around for several years. You know, had some pretty cool bows in the past, and a few years back they started using a new material called Magnite. A lot of people are unaware of that material. It's basically a blended alloy. It uses a lot of rare earth metals, and it's an exclusive molecular breakdown in terms of the metallurgy. I think I'm saying that.
Big egghead stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, we're knuckle draggers. You got to keep this simple.
30% lighter than aluminum, significantly stronger than aluminum.
So I'm going to throw this out there. Is this something similar to what some other brands may be making in their bows now, which I know everyone has their own proprietary blend? That's like saying string materials. Yes. There's a ton of really similar stuff out there, but there's a slight shift here or a slight shift there, so you have your own material.
So there are some similar materials on the market. It's not quite as tested, not quite as high grade as the Magnite material.
Gotcha.
So,
well, it's been around longer, so I'm sure there's at least more.
Yeah. And this is a U.S. sourced riser.
Cool.
So.
I'm under the impression it's still machined much like aluminum, right? Is it an extrusion and then machined aluminum, or is it like a billet block of Magnite?
It's a billet.
Okay, so that comes in as a big rectangle.
Exactly.
And they cut it to this.
The process of making the material, I believe, it's basically pressurized. It's mixed as a powder. It's pressurized, and then it comes out as a billet. Heating properties are added. Some other stuff through that process, but it's a unique compound of alloy.
Well, it's interesting when it comes to calling it magnesium, or that there's magnesium in it. It's like, that's a bad word if you've been in archery for a really long time.
Yep.
Because all our old bows back in the day, which I guarantee you 99% of the people listening to this never touched one of these bows, but from 20 plus years ago, they used to make molded riser bows that were primarily magnesium, and they were heavy AF, like really big blocky things. And then there was some like concern of magnesium and fire or whatnot. Yeah, like it can burn or that sort of thing.
Most of the older magnesium stuff that we knew back in the day was cast too.
Yeah, casted.
So this is machined. So you get a much tighter tolerance with that. You know, one bow that comes to mind, like the Hold Hoyt Magnitech. I don't remember that one.
Oh yeah, Magnitech MT Sports, sold a crap ton of those. Exactly. I was going all the way back to like Martin Lynx, Growler,
absolutely.
And all those old school metal risers back when a bow was like $100.
Oh yeah,
and now they're $2,000.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, but in all fairness, those things were bulky and heavy and just and very easy to bend. Actually, they were not rigid at all. So. Magnesium is not a bad word, so let's get that out of our heads. And much like the term dual cam, for some reason people don't want to call it that, or a 2-cam bow. Guess what, kids? They're all 2-cam bows today. Yep. They call it something different, or they give you a technical term, kind of like changing the term of what was that? Gain of function, changing the definition of it so it's something else. That's what they're doing with 2-cam bows today. They're all 2-cams, folks. But anyway, sorry, back to it. Light, very light.
Yeah,
and machined.
Light and machined, and I mean that's something that we see. You know, everybody kind of knows the carbon world, and a machine product versus a carbon product. You're dealing with a machine, a several $100,000 piece of equipment making these parts.
Gotcha.
So your tolerances are to the 1,000ths, and you know, on the opposite end of the spectrum, a lot of our carbon bows are hand laid carbon. So it's basically you're up to the particular individual that's hand making that bow for tolerance. And we've seen it on equipment where, you know, a carbon bow A and carbon bow B are the same model, and we see differences in tuning and differences in stuff. And with a machine product, you have a much more consistent product. And that's kind of the story of what Magnite is. It gives you the ability to get light, allows you to maintain that ultra high tolerance within the build.
All right, so we're looking for a 32 axle to axle, so let's measure that first. All right, so left side of axle to left side of axle. This is measuring out at 32 1/8. Our riser length looks like right at 30. Check our brace height. Okay, so it's 6 to the front of the string, 6 1/8 to the back of the string. So that's really more like 6. Now we'll check our physical weight, our draw length, and our load out point. Now and how much reflex it has. See, rusty. Okay, so it looks like our reflex measurement is right at 2 inches. So right now with the aero rest on there and all the dampeners and everything on, it's 4.3, but we're looking for 3.8. We're going to give 1 to 2 for the rest. So it's either a 0.1 or a 0.2 difference, but we're going to go ahead and take the couple of dampeners off that are on there, and I'm sure they're measuring it too without probably the string stop on there, but we're going to leave that on because we need that to function. So, but technically you could take these off and the boat still function fine. Okay, so now I'm getting 4, which the rest should be 0.1 to 0.2. So I will say that boat's 3.8 pounds without the dampeners on it. So that's an accurate number. So this thing's actually measuring out at what I would say, just judging off where that handle is, where that line is. I mean, it's spot on 30 or even 29 7/8. It's the first time I've ever seen that. Everything's been on or long. So awesome. Looks like we're at 31 1/4 for a loadout point. Pretty good. 70.1. Okay, measure that. You recording? You on that? All right, 70.1. Woo! Let's shoot this thing. Back in the saddle of guy.
Josh Mark. No. I don't know. You don't know. I'm gonna guess it.
Mine?
Yeah.
You'll never guess it. You'll never get it right. Gary fucking teeth. Thinking really hard.
Nathaniel.
Holy fuck! How'd you get that right? It's Nathan, not Nathaniel. How'd you get that right? How? What the fuck? How'd you do that?
It's on the envelope.
You dick. Oh, you were looking at a fucking title or something over there. You tool. All right, you got me. That was good. All right. 350 grain arrows, 30 inches. Xlite 32. Here we go. It's actually, I mean, it's kind of stiff, but it's not bad. I mean, I'd say it's real comparable to some of the more aggressive drawing bows of today, so it's not bad. Could also be that I just haven't shot a bow in 2 weeks. 325, that's one, and we got 323 on the Garmin, so we're going to give that a 324 average. 325, 325 that time, so we're up to 325. One more. 325, 326. So we'll give that a 325 average. Then shoot some 450s and 550s. Now with the 450s. 286, 296. So whenever we go from one to another, it's usually the Garmin that gives you a weird number. So 289, 288. So we'll use those numbers, and then I gotta go pull them and shoot one more. So 289 there. 286, 292. So I'm still gonna stick with that 289. Got that, Jeffy?
Yep.
All right, here comes some 650s. 243, 247. That'd be a 245. That's a pretty good guess. 243, 242. So we'll go 244 average. 241, 248. Yep, stick with the 244 on that one. Now we'll set it at 28 inches and shoot the 450s again for you. 269, 273, so an average of 271. 272, 277, so that's 275. So it's average 273. Hang on. 270 and 273. All right, average 273. Let's set up for some sound. So this is the part where we see how loud the bow is, and I can't really talk because my voice is louder than most of the bows, so enjoy.
Here we go. 80.5.
There you go. Time to do a little math here and figure all this out, but before we do that, I want to tell you, please go support your local archery shop. These guys have a dealer locator on their website. If you want to go find where you can try out one of these bows at, please go do that. Yes, we do sell them online. I would rather you go buy it from your local pro shop because you need them and they need you to survive in the long run. Eventually you're going to have a part or failure, etc. that you're going to need. So make sure to service your local shop. Please don't buy it from me or any other online source. If you refuse to go to your local shop because you think they're terrible or whatever, I encourage you to give them another chance. But if at the end of all that you still don't want to buy from your local shop, podiumarcher.com for all those archery needs. $99 and up is free shipping, and coupon code MFJJ will save you a little money. Now let's see what we got. We ended up from 289 to 273. That is an average of 8 foot per second per inch. So if you math this number out in all your other lengths or whatnot, you can subtract or add 8 feet per off that. The lighter weight one will be a little more, the heavier weight one will be a little less, but you can figure out what a 27, 26, 25 inch draw or 30, 31 is, so you have a better idea what velocity to expect. Now, will it be a little different? Every bow is a little different bow to bow. That is possible, but it should only be a couple of feet max. So good for you there. 80.5 on the DB is middle of the road for everything we've tested. And I would like to commend them for that because a 3.8 pound bow is the lightest or the second lightest bow we've tested, period. And to only be halfway up the scale, I think we've averaged 278 to 283, or sorry, woo, back that up, chop chop, snip snip, so I don't sound dumb. We've averaged 78 to 83 on the decibel scale. 80.5 is dead center in the middle. That's pretty impressive for a 3.8 pound bow. All right, let's see here. Our speed was 325. So that's going to be a 10 for velocity. Our weight is 3.8. And didn't I have a weight scale around here? Yeah, there we go. 3.8. Almost got an 8, just outside of it. So you're getting a 7 for weight. Tunability. This is a standard spacer system. No adjustable cable guard. Yeah, just basic. So please work on your tuning. This is about as crude as it gets in tuning out of who's left, and it's something that most brands have emphasized and worked on in the past couple years, which I appreciate because one, it makes the pro shop's job easier, and two, I don't want you to be afraid to work on your own bow, and if the bow's relatively easy to work on and tune, you're more likely to do it. So we're going to get a low number for tunability here. We basically just have spacers. You're probably getting like I'll give you a 3. Sorry, but that's reality. Integration, front mount pick, rear mount pick, those are good things, good positive things. Not integrated quivers, no integrated V-bar, so you're going to get marked down a little bit there. They do give you different grip adjustments and things like that, which is a nice plus. So we're going to go ahead and give you I'm going to give you a 6 for integration because of the extra grip stuff that are options there. But I'd like to see some more specialized parts. I know it's a smaller brand, so it's kind of a lot to ask, but that's something I'd like to see. Okay, honesty. Well, we're 8th off on the ATA, which is minimal. It's small. Brace height was 8th shy, but I was seeing that a lot where depending on if you're measuring from the back of the string to the front of the string, you could be within spec. You're supposed to measure from the inside of the string, so it's a little off, but small. Weight was spot on. Draw length was spot on. Speed. This is a 342 bow at 325. That's a lot off. Sorry, it's a lot. Lot. Time. There's not like a speed mod or something, is there?
No.
Okay, all right. So the speed's way off from advertised speed. However, I will say this bow measured shy of 30 inches, barely. So it should be slower, but not that slow. So we're talking 25, 35, 42. So we're talking 17 feet off. That might be the most off I've tested this year. So unfortunately, you're not going to get good marks for honesty in that because I have to hold you accountable for that one. So I'm going to give you like a 6 for honesty. And -5 of that's for that far off of speed. Sorry. So now there's in there. So we can work on that. It's always something real. I really want to emphasize, I don't think you need to exaggerate your speeds at all because I don't think anybody's really paying attention to that anymore. They're drawing your bow for feel, they're feeling your bow for weight, they're feeling your grip, they're not going off of how fast your bow is. Okay? So you don't need to do that. It's not necessary. Bow actually felt really good. It's a little stiff in the draw cycle, but most of them are anymore. Okay, being fair and comparable. And mind you, sorry, go back to the speed. That 325 number's not like drastically under anybody. Like I think the fastest bow I tested was 338, and it was way harder to pull than this. And they're mostly in that realm, so it's not that far off. Okay, just being fair. Feel-wise, little vibration after the shock, but not a lot. And for that light of a bow, I would put it up there as one of the best feeling bows that weighs less than 4 pounds. It's pretty impressive. The cycle didn't have humps in it. It's a little on the stiff side. I'm going to give you a 7 for feel. Design and forgiveness. 2 inches of reflex is not ideal, but for a 6-inch brace height bow, it's actually pretty common. Your riser length was 30. Overall ATA is 32.5. It's a pretty long riser. There's definitely shorter ones. There's definitely longer ones. Loadout point wasn't quite at 32, but it's a little under it. It's not bad. I'm going to give you about a 6 for design and forgiveness. Value. Well, this brings up an interesting point. $17.99, but comes with a $200 string. Most of them don't come with a really good quality aftermarket string, so that's something to consider in there. We're talking a 3.8 pound bow. How many bows out there weigh under 4 pounds? Not a lot. If you start thinking about it, your Lift X33, which is coming in at like $13.50, is under 4 pounds. But outside of that, what your PSEs that are over $2,000. I gotta remember if the RX9 was under 4. I think it was 3.9 to 4, somewhere in there. That bow's over $2,000. The Bowtech Virtue that we haven't tested yet, but it's 3.8, same weight. It's $2,000. So it's hard to say to not give it a reasonable deal in value, which I do not want to attribute value to this expensive of a bow because it's very expensive. However, I have said bows shouldn't cost $2,000. This one doesn't. So I'm going to give you a 4 for value because I think for what you're getting in the market that you're playing in is actually very fair for what you're asking. Sound, it was right smack dab in the middle at 80.5 on dB, so we're going to give you a 3. Appeal and quality. I don't have long-term experience with these bows, so it's hard for me to say what the quality is like over time. But from what I've experienced with it today, which I've honestly been playing with it for about 3 hours, talking to the rep about it, the finish is really good, like really good. It does not look like it would chip, break, or whatnot. It looks like the finish is real quality. The machine works really good. There's no funky edges or anything like that, where they definitely have taken their time making and milling these bows. I'm going to have a hard time not giving you at least a 4 for appeal and quality, and that number might be higher if I had a couple of years experience with them to see how well they hold up over time. So we're going to up those there. All right, let's add this up and see what we get. Okay, we're going to give you a 56, which, if you pay attention to this, you're getting marked down horribly for tunability because there really isn't any features that allow you to tune the bow outside of the spacers. Marking you down a lot for that. If you had some tunability features in there, that bow would be right in the mix of all the higher ones that we measured. So outside of that feature, if you don't care about that, you really ought to take a look at it. I'm pretty impressed with what I see here. We'll see how it works going forward. Hopefully you get an opportunity to try one of these at your local pro shop. Give them a whirl. I know they've kind of shifted off for the past couple of years, so you probably haven't seen them, but they're making a comeback and they're trying really hard. So we'll give them a little bit of love since they're willing to we'll give them a little bit of love because they're willing to bring a bow over for us to test. And we'll do that with anybody. So comment down below what you think of this video and what bows I should have tested that I haven't yet. And for one further for you, if there's a whole bunch of bows that you think I should be testing that I haven't, maybe you ought to reach out to that brand and tell them why haven't you sent MFJJ a bow to test? Because I will test anybody's bow that's willing to send me one, and I do not need to keep it. I will send it back. Won't cost you anything. I just want you guys to have the ability to have one place where everything's been tested in the same environment so you can get real comparable numbers. So, hey, if you don't like that I'm not testing it, reach out to them.
What about crossbows?
That's coming.